At midnight on December 10, 2025, a big change came to Australia. Millions of social media accounts for young Australians suddenly stopped working. These young people were under 16 years old. This was the first time any country in the world had done such a thing. It was a new, huge test for how countries make rules for the Internet. This new ban started many big questions. Was keeping children safe online more important than their personal freedom? Could computer systems really check how old people were? Would this strong new rule truly help young people with their feelings and mental health? Australia became an example for the whole world. People everywhere watched closely to see what would happen. This law was meant to help young people, but it also brought many problems. It created a fight between what is safe and what is allowed. Many people wondered if the new age-checking technology would work well. There was also the question of whether this strict rule would fix the big problems young people faced with their mental health. As the online world changed for a whole generation in Australia, the world waited. But the real story was just starting. This story would be about young people not following the rules. It would be about big fights in court. And it would be about new problems that no one had thought about before the ban began. 2. A big problem for young people. For many years, adults in Australia watched young people with growing worry. Social media was changing how kids felt and acted. Numbers showed a big problem. Over 40% of Australian teenagers felt sad or stressed. Hospital visits for self-harm by young women aged 15 to 19 rose by 70% in just over 10 years. Also, young people aged 15 to 24 felt much more stress, an increase of 120%. These sad numbers grew as smartphones and social media became popular. Social media caused many bad things. Kids faced cyberbullying, where others were unkind online, making young people feel alone. Many young people started to think their worth came from how many likes they got. This made them check their phones all the time and feel sad if they did not get enough attention. Comparing their lives to perfect pictures online made many feel bad about themselves and their bodies. This pressure was hard for growing teenagers. Some even showed signs of problem internet use, like an addiction they could not stop. Parents felt a lot of fear. They worried about what their children saw on apps like Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram. Because of these scary facts, the government felt it had to do something. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said social media often became a weapon for bullies and a tool for online predators. Communications Minister Anika Wells added they wanted to protect children from predatory algorithms showing them harmful things. Almost 80% of people agreed with the ban. Many parents felt relieved that action was finally being taken to keep children safe online. Faced with these terrifying statistics, the government felt it had no choice but to act. The result was a law with sweeping powers and massive penalties for the biggest companies in the world. But what did this law actually say? 3. The new rules. Australia put a new law into action. It was called the Online Safety Amendment Bill 2024. This law changed how young people could use social media. The main rule was simple. Social media companies must take reasonable measures to stop anyone under 16 from having an account. They also had to find and close existing accounts that belong to young people under this age. The goal was to protect young Australians from online harms. The ban applied to 10 big social media sites. These were Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, X, which used to be Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, Kick, and Threads. But not all online services were part of this new rule. Messaging apps like WhatsApp were fine. Gaming platforms such as Discord, Roblox, and Steam were also exempt. Websites for finding jobs like LinkedIn were not affected either. The government wanted to stop problems from platforms that often made people compare themselves or get addicted, not just apps for talking to friends. The law had very strict punishments. If a social media company did not follow the rules, it could face a very big fine. These fines could be as high as 49.5 million Australian dollars, which is about 33 million US dollars. It was important to know that these penalties were only for the companies. Young Australians and their parents would not get into trouble for breaking the ban. The law placed all the responsibility on the big technology companies to enforce the age limit. To make sure companies followed the rules, Australia had a special person. Her name was Julie Inman Grant, and she was the E-Safety Commissioner. She worked as an independent regulator for online safety. Her job was to create clear guidelines for what companies needed to do and to check if they were truly trying to comply. She understood that perfect compliance would not happen immediately. Instead, her focus would be on serious system failures from the companies, not small single mistakes. The new rules were now set, and the possible fines were terrifying for tech companies. But there was one huge question that remained. How could social media platforms truly know if a user was 15 or 16 years old? And how could they do this accurately for millions of people without creating a giant privacy nightmare for every single person who used the Internet? 4. How old are you? The new law had a big problem. How could social media companies know how old their users really were? This was called age verification, and it was a difficult puzzle. Companies had to find ways to check if someone was younger or older than 16. Some platforms asked users for government ID, like a passport or a driver's license. Other companies tried new technologies. They used phone cameras to scan a user's face. This facial analysis tried to guess a person's age. Some apps even used video selfies, where users recorded a short video of themselves to prove their age. Snapchat worked with a company called KID, using ID scans, bank account details, and facial recognition. Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, also asked for government ID or video selfies. YouTube and TikTok were also setting up their own age check systems. However, many people worried about privacy. Was it safe to give such private information, like a picture of your face or your ID, to these big companies? Cybersecurity experts said that sending pictures of IDs to company servers could be risky. This information might get stolen. Experts also said that just looking at a face to guess age was not always correct. Professor Paul Dow said that if faces were enough, we would not need government IDs. The government said that platforms already knew users' ages. They argued that companies use clever tools to show ads to specific people, so they should be able to know if someone is 16. The e-safety commissioner said, "They can target us with incredible precision for advertising. They can certainly do this regarding a child's age." Minister Annika Wells added that if you had been on Facebook since 2009, they knew you were over 16. So no new checks were needed for older users. But many experts were not so sure. They warned that the technology had flaws. They also worried about data breaches, where private user information could be lost or stolen. Even if the facial scan was done on the phone, a bad app could still send the images away. These new checks also made it harder for some young people to get online, especially those without official IDs. As social media companies worked hard to put these age-checking systems in place, they missed something important. The young people they were trying to ban were already very clever. They were finding ways to get around the new rules, one step ahead of the technology. 5. Breaking the ban. The social media ban became real on December 10. For many young Australians, their usual online spaces suddenly vanished. Their accounts for popular apps like TikTok and Instagram were either locked or gone. But this digital silence did not last long. Young people, known for their smart thinking with technology, quickly began looking for ways to get back online. Reports soon showed that the new age-checking systems had problems. Some teenagers found ways to pass the facial recognition checks. They might use special filters or change their appearance in photos to trick the software. This showed that the technology, which was meant to keep them off, was not perfect from the very beginning. Quickly, young Australians started sharing their methods with each other. Online groups and private chats became busy places to exchange advice. A very popular method involved using a virtual private network, or VPN. This special software could hide a user's true location. By using a VPN, a young person could make it seem like they were in a country where the social media ban did not apply. This made it hard for the platforms to know if they should block the account. Another way was by asking older family members. Some parents or older brothers and sisters helped younger kids. They might let them use their own adult accounts, or even help them set up new ones, hiding the true age of the user. This created a clever workaround that bypassed the system's age rules. Communications Minister Annika Wells had already predicted this. She openly said, "Kids, bless them, will likely find a way around this." She understood that young people are often one step ahead when it comes to technology. This started a complex game. Regulators tried to find and stop these new tricks, but the young users kept discovering more. It was a constant cat-and-mouse chase. This meant the ban was much harder to enforce than planned. Even as platforms tried to close underage accounts, many young people were still finding their digital backdoors back into social media. However, while these digital games were playing out, a far more serious threat to the ban was quietly forming. This danger was not happening in a teenager's bedroom. It was building in the highest court of the nation. 6. A fight in the court. Chapter 6 starts with a big legal problem for the new social media ban. Two 15-year-olds named Noah Jones and Macy Neeland started a court case in Australia's highest court. A group called the Digital Freedom Project helped them. This group works to protect people's civil rights, which are basic freedoms everyone should have. Noah and Macy said that the ban was not fair. Their lawyers argued that the ban stopped young people from speaking freely. This included talking about politics and important news. Australia's laws have an implied freedom of political communication, which means people should generally be able to share their thoughts on government and public matters. The teenagers said the social media ban took away this important right for everyone under 16. For them, not being able to use social media meant they could not join many public discussions at all. The government's lawyers had to show why the ban was needed. They argued that the ban was a way to protect children from many online dangers. They said it would help young people's mental health. The court would likely agree that keeping children safe is a very good and important goal for any government. But the court also had to ask if the ban was fair and not too extreme for its goal. Was taking away all social media from young people really the only or best way to keep them safe? Or could there be other, less strict rules that still protected kids but allowed them to speak and connect? This part of the case was called the proportionality test. Some critics also said that the ban could hurt vulnerable young people. These included teens with disabilities, First Nations youth, those living far from cities, and LGBTQ teenagers. Many of these young people use social media to find support groups and connect with others who understand them. Losing these online communities could make them feel more alone. Experts said this court fight was a major challenge for the ban. It was like a small group fighting a very big government. Even though winning such a case is difficult, the arguments made by Noah and Macy were seen as serious and credible. This showed that the ban had a real legal weakness. However, even if the government won in court and proved the law was constitutional, another big question still needed an answer. Was there any real scientific evidence that a social media ban actually improved young people's mental health? 7. Does the ban help? The big question about the ban was simple. Would it truly help young people feel better? Scientists do not all agree. In May 2025, a psychologist named Christopher Ferguson looked at many studies. He found that when young people used social media less, it often did not change their mental health much. For example, some German users stopped using Facebook for 2 weeks. They spent less time online, but their sadness or happiness did not change. Another study showed small changes in loneliness for some, but not much else. However, other psychologists, like Jonathan Haidt, disagreed. In August 2025, he said that if you looked at the same studies differently, social media did affect mental health. Later, a big study by Burnell and his team in 2025 looked at 32 different tests. They found that taking a break from social media could make some people feel a little better. It helped a little with feeling sad, anxious, or stressed. It also helped a little with how much they liked themselves. But these changes were small. This study also said something important. Completely stopping social media did not seem much better than just using it less. This makes people wonder if a full ban is truly needed or if simply using social media in a balanced way would be enough. A survey of many Australian teenagers even found that those who use social media for 1 to 3 hours a day sometimes felt as good or even better than those who used it less. Experts also said that social media can help young people. It can help them connect with friends, feel less lonely, and find groups where they belong, especially for LGBTQ+ youth. Because of this, some think it is better to teach young people how to use social media safely and wisely instead of banning it. Social media companies also spoke out. Elon Musk, who owns X, said the ban was a bad idea and like trying to control everyone. He thought it was a step towards a totalitarian dystopia. Australian officials did not worry much about his words. TikTok said the ban might push young people to other, less safe parts of the internet. Meta and Snapchat also shared concerns but decided to follow the new rules. With science still unclear, young people finding ways to get back online, and a legal fight happening, Australia's new law is a big gamble. The world is watching to see what happens next. The outcome could change the internet forever. 8. What happens next? Australia's social media ban for young people is a very important moment. It changes how governments might control online technology in the future. The ban started because many people had real fears about children's safety online. They worried a lot about the growing mental health crisis among young people, including issues like cyberbullying, rising self-harm rates, and the harmful effects of social media algorithms. This strong concern was a big reason for the government to take such a decisive step. However, this major action also brings new questions and risks. Some people worry deeply about young people's privacy, fearing that sharing personal IDs to prove age might not be safe. Others are concerned about restricting young people's freedom to speak and connect online, seeing social media as a place for important communication. Many ask if this complete ban will truly improve mental health, or if young people will simply find other ways to use social media, perhaps on less regulated platforms where new dangers might exist. There are also concerns for vulnerable young people who rely on online spaces for connection and community. To understand the real impact of this new law, a special team from Stanford University will study the ban. For at least 2 years, they will carefully look at detailed information from thousands of young Australians. This deep, long-term study will try to show if the ban truly helps with mental health, social connections, academic performance, and other important parts of life. The results of this study will be very important, for many other countries are watching Australia closely to learn from its experience. Places like Malaysia and Denmark are already considering similar laws to protect their young citizens. France, Italy, Spain, and Norway are also looking at new rules for social media use by young people. Even the European Parliament and some states in the United States are working on laws to protect children online, sometimes with big fines for companies. This big experiment is happening now in Australia. What happens there will set a strong example for other nations around the globe. Its success or failure will help other democracies decide how to manage powerful technology companies in the years to come. It will shape how governments try to keep young people safe online for a whole generation. This is a critical time for how we make digital rules. What do you think will happen next for young people in Australia? Will the ban make things better or worse for them in the long run, and how might this affect other countries' decisions?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.